What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. Let's get started. NHL playoffs, conference semifinals last night. Carolina Hurricanes defeat the Washington Capitals 3-1. They scored a goal to break the tie with a little under 2 minutes left and an empty net to seal it. Carolina is in the Eastern Conference Finals for the second time in 3 years, trying to actually win the game this time. I mentioned, I think, yesterday, they have not won a game in the conference finals since Rob Brindamore took the head coach job there a while back. They have ultimately stuck around at best every other year. They got swept in the conference finals by Florida 2 years ago. And they beat Washington. It would have been really cool to see Ovechkin break the all-time goals record and then win a cup in the same year. However, he does already have a Stanley Cup, so he doesn't necessarily need the cup. Obviously, he's already won the all-time greats, obviously. And Washington falls in the conference semis. Carolina moves on to the Eastern Conference Finals. 18 saves from Frederik Andersen in the win. And the Winnipeg Jets shut out the Dallas Stars 4-0. 22 saves for Connor Hellebuyck in that one. As they survive another day, President's Trophy winners not going down super easy. They force a game 6. The Dallas Stars still be 3-2. And tonight, I know it was coming out a little bit later than usual, but it should be up before the NBA NHL playoff games start tonight. Maple Leafs and Panthers game 5, game 6. Florida Panthers win 3 games, lead 3-2. I expect Florida to finish the job. We will see what happens. 3-2, defending champs to lead the Maple Leafs 3-2 in the conference semifinals. Now moving on to the NBA playoffs. Game 6 last night. Denver Nuggets defeat the Oklahoma City Thunder 119-107. Denver and OKC were pretty close in the first half. Big second half from Denver. They outplayed OKC in the second half, win 119-107, 29-14-8 for Jokic. Julian Strawther had the game of his life, like the 32 assists in the loss for Shea. But game of his life from Julian Strawther for the Denver Nuggets. 20 points, 4 of 8, 3 threes. Big game for him. He had, the game of his life. Also got 25 from Jamal Murray and 23 from Christian Braun as well. For the Thunder, they need more from Jalen Williams. They haven't gotten a lot of production from him really all postseason. He was really bad last night. Just 6 points, 3 of 13 from the field, 4 from 3. Did not even see the free throw line. Well, they're going to need some more from him for sure. But he had a rough game. And Denver wins 119-107. They force a game 7. And in a little bit, game 6, Celtics Knicks heads back to MSG for game 6. Knicks up for games 2. Of course, Boston is down. Jason Tatum, unfortunately, tore his Achilles at the end of game 4. Now I'm praying the Knicks can finish off the Boston Celtics and reach their first Eastern Conference Finals since 2000, 25 years ago. As going back to Boston for game 7 will be very, very tough. We have breaking news. This only broke a little while ago. The San Francisco 49ers have extended quarterback Brock Purdy 5 years, $265 million, with $181 million guaranteed. Now look, compared to other contracts that quarterbacks have gotten over the last few years, this isn't horrible. However, this isn't great either. It is still an overpay. $53 million a year for Purdy is a little bit much. He's not a bad quarterback. Last year in 15 games, completed almost 66% of his passes for over 3,800 yards, 20 touchdowns against 12 interceptions. He had a QBR of 67.9, which is pretty good. Quarterback rating was 96.1, which is a little bit above average. The previous year, he had a much better season. In 2023, he had completed 69% of his passes, over 4,200 yards. He had 31 touchdowns against 11 interceptions. He had a quarterback rating of 113 that led the league. His QBR was 72.8. That also led the league. He actually finished 4th in MVP voting, 6th in Offensive Player of the Year voting. Was voted a Pro Bowler. So a bit of a step back last year. Look. Purdy is only going to be his 4th season in the league. He's still only 26 years old. I think he's a good quarterback. He's definitely a starter in the league, a very solid starter. But he's not elite. He needs help. He needs to have a good offensive line in front of him, good weapons around him, and I think 2 years ago they had that. They don't quite have that anymore. Their offensive line is very bad. Trent Williams is great, one of the league's best, but he's at the end of his career, coming off a major injury, and you lose 2 starting offensive linemen from one that was already pretty bad last year. And obviously you traded away Deebo Samuel to the Washington Commanders. And Christian McCaffrey, getting him back healthy will help. However, getting a little bit older for a running back, only played, 3 games last year. Will he be healthy? He's had injuries in the past. If he's healthy, he's probably the best in the league, but you got to trust him. He's healthy. Brandon Ayuk's a guy who's very good, but can he be a true one? He didn't play a lot last year for torn ACL coming off of that. Ricky Pearsall from a first rounder. Obviously, last year missed the first 2 games because he was involved in a tragic shooting. But him being fully healthy, true health, he's a former first-round pick. After that, there isn't a lot, but they do have George Kittle, who is one of the league's best tight ends. However, they're also very injury-prone. They're also a piece defensively. I don't know really well what they're expecting. They'll still be a competitive team. They won, 6 games last year? They could win more than that, but if everything goes perfectly right, they probably sneak into the playoffs, but I don't see them going on a playoff run, even with their experience. And it's more likely they're a 7 or 8 win team at best, probably. So I would have probably sat on him for another year and drafted somebody next year. I get you, God forbid, you put the tag and trade game, and they're not going to be bad enough to where they have the first pick or the second pick or the third pick, and they're taking Arch Manning. However, in a quarterback class that we don't really know what the class is going to be outside of Arch Manning. Assuming he comes out, I do think it's a slight possibility he goes back to school another year. Look at who's in his family. He's mentioned before about most likely he will come out next year and be the first pick in the NFL draft. Certainly the first quarterback taken. The rest of that class is very unknown. Carson Beck and Severs from South Carolina, Drew Aller, Penn State. However, the class should be a lot better than this year, which is very poor. And if they end up winning 66 games again, they have the 8th pick. I think they should be able to get somebody very good. And I would have probably either told them, look, I mean, you saw what we did this offseason, trading away Deebo Samuel. We let go of a couple of offensive linemen. We let a bunch of pieces in the secondary walk. That's because the giant cap crunch here, where the team is getting older. We've gotten close a couple of times in the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl, haven't been able to get over the hump. We had a 6-win year last year. We've had a lot of injuries over the years. If we pay you, I know you want, $250, $260 million. If we pay you that, which we're glad to do, but we let go of this talent so we can create some cap space. We'll be in the same spot that we were. So if you accept, maybe 220, all right, we can talk, but that's what I would have done. But now I don't know where you go from here. I guess he's still young, still only going to be 26 years old. He's 31 or so at the end of the deal. But with the roster you have, it's not good enough to really compete even for a playoff spot to me. When you have a quarterback in Brock Purdy who's a good quarterback, but he's not like a Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes tier, or even I wouldn't even put him in the same category as even Jalen Hurts. He needs a lot of help, and they don't quite have, I think, what he needs right now. To finish off, we're going to talk about NBA offseason preview series. We are going to the Western Conference. We're starting with 2 teams that lost in the play-in tournament. First off, the Sacramento Kings. Kings 2 years ago had a really promising year, won 50 games. Went from a team that hadn't made the playoffs in 15 or 20 years. With a 2 seed in the West, the 3 seed in the West, losing the first round, but was really promising. 2 years later, back-to-back play-in exits. You fired the coach Mike Brown midseason for God knows what. You traded away De'Aaron Fox in a 3-team trade for Zach LaVine, and you're kind of right back where you started 3 or 4 years ago. So, look, you have a great player in DeMontis Sabonis, I think, really underrated. Double-double machine. He's good for at least 20 and 10 pretty much every single night. He's still 28 years old. You got him under contract for another 3 years. As opposed to young pieces, Keegan Murray's only 24. He's got another year before he hits restricted free agency. I think he's really good. You took Devin Carter in the draft this past year, so I don't really know what you have. He's 22 years old. Other than that, Zach LaVine's a good player, But he's due $47.4 million next year. He's got a $48, almost $49 million player option the following season. DeMar DeRozan is 35, not the same player. He's got 2 more years, though his last year is not fully guaranteed. Valanciunas is a solid big, but he's 32 years old. That being said, again, his contract is manageable, $10.3 million this year, non-guaranteed $10 million the following year. Malik Monk is a really good 6-man. He's got a pretty fair deal. He's only 26. But other than that, your free agents are Trey Lyles, Doug McDermott, Jake LaRavia, Jay Crowder, who I forgot was still in the league. Markel Fultz is restricted, obviously one of the biggest busts in NBA history, and then that's really all the players worth mentioning. Keaton Allison is a team option. I'm sure he comes back. He's still only 25. Isaac Jones is only 24, though. Those guys are not needle movers by any sense of the imagination. They might just need to blow this thing up, honestly. When I look at it, you have a great big man. I think double big of Domantas Sabonis and Jonas Valanciunas is enticing. Valanciunas is still a solid piece. He's a good scorer. Not really a three-point shooter, but it's a good scorer. Very good rebounder. Can protect the rim. I think Keegan Murray's got really good potential. Levine's a good player. Not a huge fan of him, but he's a very good player. A very talented offensive player. I think a very solid second option, but he is not a first option. I feel like everywhere he's been on some bad teams to where he's been the de facto first option. When he's on a bad team, he's a first option. He might average 24, 25 a game, but your team is probably not going to be much better than 500. And it's not going to get out of the first round. You put him next to a legit number one, whether that's, maybe in Detroit next to Cade Cunningham, something like that. Maybe in Minnesota next to Anthony Edwards. He may only now average 22 points a game, but you're going to win 50-plus games and be a serious contender for the NBA championship. And DeRozan, now, I ain't like that contract when they gave it to him. He's 35. I don't think he has a whole lot left. He's still a pretty good scorer, but he plays zero defense. Just a three-point shot really isn't there. Monk's a solid 6-man. You may have something in Carter. Other than that, there's really nothing here. So, to me, they got to go out, get a legit star. I don't know how they're going to be able to acquire one. Looking at their cap situation right now, I can imagine it's not horrible. It's not. You have about $37.5 million before that second apron. So you have a little bit of money to spend. You could improve this team, but the West is also so loaded. Not really sure what they do here. I would build around... I probably wouldn't trade Sabonis yet. I'd wait at least a year for that. I would... Also, you see what you have in Devin Carter. I would really see if you give Keegan Murray a shot to really break out this next season. Maybe give Keon Ellis an extended look. I think you know what you have in Malik Monk. I would try and move off of DeMar DeRozan. I would probably try and move off of Zach LaVine. I'm surprised they even traded from him in the first place. Those two guys together, they seem to like each other. And they're not horrible players. However, it didn't work in Chicago. It hasn't worked in Sacramento. I'm not sure it's ever going to work. I would probably look to move all of those two guys, and even Jonas Valanciunas as well. Valanciunas is a guy who should be able to get off of without too much trouble. Could probably get at least much if you get a first rounder back for he is 32, but you can get back maybe a solid young role player and a second rounder or two. DeRozan's 35, however, 24.7 next year, then 25.7, not even fully guaranteed the following year. It's a movable deal. LaVine's gonna be tougher. He's got $47.4 million this year, and then a player option for almost $49 million the following year. However, you could probably at least get back a couple of young players. You can look at maybe get back one first rounder for him. Not sure if I'll give up a first rounder for LaVine. It's probably a couple of maybe projects and a second rounder or two, but get something back for these guys. I really think the Sacramento Kings do need to really, truly start over. And the final team we're going to go over is the Dallas Mavericks. All of a sudden, as hopeless as this looks, the Dallas Mavericks have a lot of life. You just got the first pick in the NBA draft. Whether or not the NBA threw them a bone or was luck, whatever you want to say, they have the first pick. So you're going to get Cooper Fleck, who I do think will be a star player in this league. I do think Kyrie Irving Opson's got a $43.9 million player option. We probably don't see him until at least well into the winter next year. probably around January, maybe the All-Star break, coming off that torn ACL. Don't think it'd be very wise, especially since he's 32 years old. The history he has with injuries, although he's been much better in Dallas, the off-the-court issues. Can't imagine that guy he'd want to opt out unless he thinks he can get a slightly higher salary for maybe like a 3-year deal or something. He's 32 years old, which I think are we all seeing Kyrie Irving is 32. I don't know why. Don't know how I feel about that. However, at some point next year, it might not be until January, a hypothetical starting lineup could be Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Cooper Flag, Anthony Davis, and Daniel Gafford. Plus, you have on your bench, you have P.J. Washington coming off the bench. You have Caleb Martin coming off the bench. Najee Marshall. Even Max Cressy isn't a bad player. Derek Lively's a nice rim runner. All of a sudden, this team could be a contender again. I get it. Kyrie Irving is going to miss half the year. Klay Thompson's now 34 years old. He's had injuries in the past. Anthony Davis is as injury prone as it gets. That's why we all made fun of the Luka trade. You said, oh, you trade them for conditioning, which is a legit concern. However, you get back the most injury-prone big in the league, in Anthony Davis, who's now 31 years old. However, hypothetically, fully healthy, you throw Cooper Flag into this mix. This is what happens when you get a player like that. Beforehand, you're like, this looks pretty rough. This is a play-in exit in the face, even at full strength. Now you throw Cooper Flag, and they're like, holy crap, this is a top 5 team in the conference. So overall, I think this team is very good. Not sure if next year's the year, but the following year, I think they're looking really special. The only free agents they have are Dante Exum and Spencer Dinwiddie. The following year, we'll have to worry about because Kyrie, if he opts in, will then hit the market. P.J. Washington, Daniel Gafford will also be free agents then. So we will see what happens, but at full strength, Kyrie's still a great player. Klay Thompson is still a very good shooter. You're getting Cooper Flag, who I'm sure will be the odds favorite to win a Rookie of the Year next year. Projected future star. AD, I'm not sure how many games are going to have him, but that guy is still a great player. Still an incredible defensive player. Great scorer, can shoot the ball. At 6'11", 7 feet tall. Gafford's a solid big, and again, they have a pretty solid bench. Caleb Barton's not a bad 3-and-D guy to have on your bench. Probably should have traded him for Quentin Grimes, but he's not a horrible player. You got P.J. Washington's a solid stretch 4 to have. Max Cressey's only 21 years old. He got a lot better this past season. He's a talented player. Derek Lively's a solid rim runner. Can protect the rim. Good lob threat to have. He's only 20 years old. So all of a sudden, this is a pretty solid team. So if I'm a Dallas Mavericks, I would take Cooper Flag. You need to have depth behind Davis, which I think they have. You have Daniel Gafford next to him. You have Derek Lively on your bench as well as P.J. Washington. I would make sure you figure things out with Kyrie Irving, and then just don't not take Cooper Flag. I guess. Hoping Nico Harris doesn't have a brain fart, but he did said he's going to take Cooper Flag. Take him, and I think they'll be a good team next year. I would not be surprised if they are at least a 5 or a 6 in the Western Conference next year. So just take Cooper Flag, and then just pray that you're healthy by the postseason. And I think if they are, this team could be a potential threat in the playoffs come next year. That's what I got for you guys today. Next week, I'll be in the studio Monday and Tuesday. Most likely no show Wednesday. May again take another week off because I'm going to be home in New York. There's still some work going on at my house, though it is almost finished, I believe. So, possibly shows on Zoom Thursday and Friday. Maybe Wednesday, they'll probably not. Monday could be a show, may or may not be a show, but I'll be back. But next Tuesday, I'll be back in the studio. But Monday and Tuesday this coming week, we will be in the studio. That's almost a definite. Till next time, so long. Have a great day.